Hello, Asia.
And hello, world.
I'm your host, John Antiquera, and you're live via Anfro's Facebook and LinkedIn pages, as well as via Anfro's YouTube channel. Joining me today as co-host is the Legal Network for Truthful Elections, or LENTE, Junior Program Officer, Ms. Alexa Yadaw. Hi, Alexa.
Hi, John. Thank you for having Lente today in your podcast. It's great to be here. We're actually counting down in the Philippines to our midterm elections. So I am very excited to learn from our guests, even though I am one of the co hosts for this afternoon's episode.
Yes, of course, we'll also be asking you some questions. No? But as you said, the Philippines is in the election period now with the election scheduled for May 12. So, Alexa, Lente has been engaging in in the electoral process in the Philippines through various programs and activities. No? What have you found so far at Lente as the main challenges of the Filipino electorate in engaging and participating in elections? And can you also share with us what Lente is doing in the country now, particularly about voter education and civic education?
Yeah, in the Philippines, actually, in terms of engaging our voters and voter participation, it's not a challenge. Our executive director always says that we see high voter turnout increase every year. Like every election year, there's a higher turnout than the last. So engaging the Filipino electorate to to go out to and vote on election day is not a challenge. But still, voter education is a never-ending task, especially for election monitoring organizations like the Philippines. And in Lente, of course, we believe that voter education at doesn't stop at educating voters how to vote, how they should shade their ballot, how they should feed their ballot, but it's about empowering them also to engage in deeper electoral issues. So at Lente, we actually purposely named our voter education program not as our public education program, but name it as political education program because we focus on simplifying election laws so they our voters are empowered to spot election violations and they're empowered to report and demand accountability. And so it really does go beyond it goes beyond educating voters about how they should vote.
Mhm. Thanks, Alexa. No, it's a timely discussion for you in the Philippines and for other countries that are going to have elections. And for this particular episode, for episode 7 of the Election Observer, we'll discuss how voter and civic education programs contribute to making the electorate better informed towards ensuring electoral integrity. We invited guests who will share more insights, experiences, and country specific context about voter participation and how well knowledgeable are the electorate about the electoral process and their civic duty to select leaders that embody their ideals and aspirations.
Okay, we're joined today by distinguished guests from Indonesia, India, and Nepal. Of course, we both know that Indonesia and India, both of which recently held elections last year during the 2024 Global Super Election Year. And so we're excited to have them share with us what they have learned from the 2024 Super Election Year. And from Nepal also, who will vote in a major election, I think in the next 2 or 3 years. So I am honored to introduce our guest today. We have Mr. Tej Sunar, the Secretary General of the National Election Observation Committee in Nepal. And we also have with us today Prof. Sanjay Kumar, the Director of Lakhniti Center for the Study of Developing Societies in India. Good afternoon,
Good
Ren. Good
afternoon. Good
afternoon,
afternoon.
and Prof. Sanjay. I hope I was able to properly pronounce your names and
Yes.
organization, and please feel free to correct me.
No,
Alexa,
perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Alexa, before we proceed further, no, we are also, of course, joined by our third guest, Mr. Randy Umbo, the National Coordinator of Jaringan Pendidikan Pamilya untuk Rakyat or JPPR in Indonesia. Hi, Randy.
Hello, hello, Wendy.
Hi, Renny. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yes, Randy, can we just, because the orientation is vertical, can you just fix the camera so that you're not on the side of the screen? But Alexa, I'll hand it over to you now.
Yeah, I guess while we are waiting for Randy to fix camera, I guess we can start. Let's start by asking our first question. And I think we should start by understanding the voter awareness landscape in each of the countries from which our guests are coming from. So I will ask this question to all of our guests, to Prof. Sanjay, to Randy, and to Tej. Can you share with us, please, the level of voter awareness about the electoral process in your respective countries, and th- what do you think is how what do you think is the level of engagement or information that the voters in your respective countries have about your electoral laws and policies? Um, who would like to go first, or would you like me to invite one who will go first?
If you want, I can go first.
Yes, please, Prof. Sanjay.
Sure, sure.
No, you asked many questions in one question. Uh, first, first, because electoral laws, voter awareness, engagement, these are three different things. So, first about electoral laws, I think people are not very concerned. The common Indians are not very concerned about electoral laws. You know, uh, people generally know that if you are above 18, you can vote. If you are above 25, you can contest election. People know that that this is the voting timing, the booth is near your house, etc., etc. But when it comes to technical election laws, I don't think this is concerned with the common people. Technical laws, so that is I would keep that away from my discussion, because that's not an issue for the common people. Even at times, people who are educated don't know technicalities about election laws, unless until you want to contest election, unless until you are a polling officer, an officer who is conducting election. When it comes to awareness, a very high level of awareness, that's another part of the question. Awareness is very high. Normally, we have the perception that if the voter is uneducated, he or she may not be aware. No, awareness is very, very high. Awareness may be slightly less if you compare urban voter and the rural voter, uneducated and educated. The uneducated and the rural voter are more aware about uh, elections. When is election taking place? Who is my candidate? Etc. Etc. So the awareness level is very high, fairly high, no doubt about that. Engagement, there is one data, and this is the third part of the question which you asked, and I will be brief. Uh, engagement, turnout in an election is an indicator of engagement. And if you look at the turnout in Indian elections, we have elections for three levels: the local body elections, the state level elections, and the national elections. Unlike in Indonesia, we don't have all the elections at in one go. These are spread out throughout the country. Sometimes one state local body election, sometime another state there is a state level election, and national elections. All these elections take place after every 5 years. National elections, generally out of 100 voters, 67, 68, almost 70 are voting in every elections, and it has gone up during last 10 years. Participation is much higher in state level elections, and participation is much higher in the local body elections. That's one pattern. Smaller the state, if the state province is very small, number of people in one constituencies are very small, participation is much higher. So in states like Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland. These are small states. Goa, Uttarakhand. The turnout is, even in the national elections, 75-80%, while the national turnout is 70%. Big The bigger states have slightly lesser turnout, so slightly lesser participation. So I think this is in brief about the three questions which you asked about awareness, participation, and knowledge about electoral laws.
Thank you, Prof. Sanjay, for a comprehensive overview of voter awareness in India. And thank you also for helping me chunk the questions. I will ask Tej first and then Randy to answer the question. But as chunked by Prof. Sanjay, I will allow me to repeat the question. Can you share with us first the level of awareness about elections in Nepal? And then the second would be, how deep is the information of our voters in terms of electoral laws? And then lastly, the level of engagement and participation in elections. Tej?
Yeah, thank you so much, Alexa. First of all, I would like to thank NFL team for participating me in these conversations. This is very much happy time for me to join this conversation. Uh, Talking about the responding to your questions, is Sanjay told similar situation is here in Nepal, talking about the election related rules and regulations and the procedure. The people, they are not much aware, because it is very much technical things, and also that they are uh, not sufficiently educated on the policies, on the regular rules and regulation and laws uh, comprehensively. So this part is very poor in Nepali context as well. Talking about the general kind of awareness, people are aware, but there is a lack of critical awareness, because they participate, they are aware about the election and electoral kind of things, but the level of critical awareness is very poor, because they participate, they are engaged what a political party cadres ask to do, and some other organizations, civil society organization, what they ask to do, they are doing accordingly. Otherwise, their self uh, confidence, self critical awareness part is very much poor. I had done one study on the political participation of Dalit community. As you know, Dalit community is the highly marginalized community in Nepal. So when I was doing that study, my study uh, finding was, one of the finding was, there awareness on the electoral process is very very low, because only what I found, only 47% Dalit, they decide who to vote themselves. The remaining, they either they decide either is asked by political party cadres or their household head, or their community leaders, kind of thing. This kind of situation there, because of awareness, lack of awareness, it is happening there. They cannot decide themselves. Majority of people, they cannot decide themselves. That is the situation. The main reason of is, one thing is less, they are less self confidence, and they have less self confidence. Then other reason is sometimes political pressure is also there. Pressure is also there, because of political cadres pressure. You must vote to us, you must vote to him or her, kind of thing. That kind of pressure is also working there. So this is the situation. And talking about the engagement is there while reviewing the broadcasted 60 to 70% normally 60 to 70% vote are casted during the election. It shows there is participation in the voting during the election process. This is the situation. Yeah, normally I want to say these things. And also it depends. Yeah, Sanjay told different situation in different areas. In our context, also it is there, and also in our context there is a different level of awareness among the different communities. Especially marginalized communities, yeah, illiterate communities, yeah, talking about literacy rate, still 24% population, adult population is still illiterate in Nepal. And also while talking about women, this illiterate women population is 31%. So that is also working. And people from different categories, different areas. We have 7 provinces, especially if we go to Karnali and Sudur Pasim province and Madhya province, their awareness level is very low. General awareness level is very low, and as well as election related awareness is also low. So this is the situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Tej, for sharing with us what's like in Nepal also. And Prof. Sanjay and Tej, you have brought up many interesting ideas, especially on how level of awareness actually varies depending on the community or depending on the demographic in the group. All of this we will further dive in later on at the conversation, where we will ask you how then do we address these challenges to improve voter awareness and engagement in elections. But first,
Yes.
I want to, of course, call Randy from JPPR to also share with us what is the level of awareness about elections in Indonesia, information of voters about electoral laws, as well as the level of engagement among Indonesians in terms of elections.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. First, I want to thank for the invitation from Anfel to be engaged in this beautiful forum. And uh, I think first I agree with Mr. Sanjay Kumar said that about the law uh, aware, awareness. We have the same problem actually. If we are talking about the rules and the law, all the people voters in Indonesia do not know all the rules implemented in elections. But they know about the election bodies, such as they know about the KPU, they know about the Bawaslu, the General Elections Committee, and the supervisory body. And people also know about the rules about uh, what the to-do list or not to do. For example, they know about the regulations in money politics. They know about the regulations uh, about the neutrality or independence of the state apparatus and others. So, in general, people understood uh, what uh, uh, the rules in elections because they obtain it from widely used social media in Indonesia. Uh, the one that regarding the rules and regulations at the level of political parties, such as we know party liaison officers or LO in Indonesia, I think they understand quite well about the regulations. But public, as I say before that, knows only the general things about the rules in regulation. The second, about the awareness, voters participatory in elections. Actually, I would like to uh, give two assumptions. First, the participations or participatory in election that we know, we call it as voters turnout, the participatory at the day of the election, and then the second, what the KPU has done for this January or February 2025 about the election participation index or IPP. The voters turnout, as we know, Indonesia has conducted about the simultaneous election, 2024 simultaneous elections. Simultaneous elections in 2024 actually consist of two elections. First, the general elections in February 2024, the general election to choose the president and vice president, to choose the legislative or House of Representatives, we call DPR and DPRD here, and local House of Representatives, and DPD or Regional Representative Council at the February. And then the second, in simultaneous elections, the regional head elections, which has been occurred in November 27 to 2024. So the simultaneous elections means in Indonesia two elections in the same year. First, the election, the general elections, we know it well, and then the second, the regional head elections that before we held it in different times, in different periods in Indonesia, because Indonesia is a large country. We have 38 provinces and almost 514 regency and cities. So, talking about the voters turnout in the simultaneous election 2024, we read it in the media, right? Do you read it? Indonesians voters turnout has decreased in the regional election, the regional head elections, falling below 71%. If we compare to the February 2024 general elections, which reached almost 82%, 81 to 0.7%. So it decreased to 71% at the regional head elections. But actually, if we compare from the regional head elections before, the last one is 2020. We know we had pandemic issues, COVID in elections. Actually, it's not far away because it's only 76%. So still decrease 76 to 71%, but not far. At the general elections, 2019 general elections, the voters turnout only 77.5%. In this case, I want to say that there are some what we call voters behavior in Indonesia, because maybe into 2024 elections in February, why the voters turnout reached 82% because of money politics. We read in the newspapers, in media, the money politics in case of vote buying. Not money politics in economic definitions is patronage and clientelism, but we are talking about the vote buying. The vote buying practice or money politics in February elections is too massive, and the practice is too massive, and what we can naked in public. So maybe there is a relation between voter turnout in elections, in general election, why it's higher than the regional head election, because of the money politic practice or vote buying practice. That's the second. And then the third, talking about the election participation index. If we're talking about the voters turnout, the percentage is higher. But recently the KPU or election body released about the election participation index 2020-24. They in their research talking about the index, it means that the elections, the participations of voters of public in election, not only in this on the day of the elections, but they measure it from all the stage of elections, the voter list stage, the campaign stage, the candidacy stage, and then not only at the day of the elections. The KPU on their research shows that because there are three categories: involvement, engagement, and participatory. The highest level of the participations, public participations by these measurements is participatory. Only 23 SATKER or KPU units from 514. You can imagine from 514 KPU works units, only 23 SATKER or KPU units demonstrate dedications and active involvement throughout the election process and got participatory category. Only 23 from 514. The other 319 enforcement from the lowest one, and then the 172 SATKER or works unit in the engagement group. So, in perspective of election participation index, shows that the participation, the public participation, voters participation is in the low category or enforcement category. I think that's the important one because the 2024 election participation index shows that public involvement in general election process is still relatively low. However, public participation contributes to the legitimacy in all stages of general elections. Uh, I think that's all about the voters turnout, the election participation index, and then the engagement or awareness of law in Indonesian election. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I hope our audience are enjoying the conversation because our guests are actually prepared with the with data on voter awareness and turnout. Before actually, I will go to the next question on where we want to highlight the voter education programs that your respective organizations have. I wanted to highlight a common trend in all of the answers from our distinguished guests about how the public generally doesn't know or care about election laws um, and and policies of their election management bodies. In the Philippines, we also have actually a complex legal framework where we have multiple laws, sometimes contradictory and sometimes for instance, we have over 80 plus resolutions just to implement the election laws that we have in our country. I wanted to ask just a very quick insight from our guests. Do you also have this kind of legal framework in your election legal framework in your respective countries? This complex, and how do you think this affects people's engagement with the elections? Because as you said, awareness in like basic information about elections, our your voters or the electorate in your countries are okay with it, but in terms of participation or engagement, it's actually not that high. So again, just your quick thoughts on how complex is your election legal framework and how that affects voters engagement in elections. Prof Sanjay, do you want to go first?
As I mentioned, that voters' engagement is not very low in India. It is reasonably very high. 70%, 80% engagement is not low. Um, but when we are talking about election laws are always, it's not simple because it's not meant for common people like you and me, people, common voters on the street. Laws are to be understood, interpreted only by specialist on that. So uh, if you think that the laws has to be very very simple, then we are imagining something which may not be possible. Yes, but I think even some simpler things, for some simpler thing it becomes very difficult. Like suppose I am registered as a voter in one particular location, and now I have shifted from one location to another location, and I need to first delete my name, make a request for deletion of my name from the location or the colony or the city where I was staying. And now, in a new city where I've shifted, I need to register. This should be as simple as possible, but I think if you talk to a lot of people in India, they would say, no, it's not as simple as you would expect. Even if I have put in application 3 or 4 times, my name is still there, and I have put my applications for inclusion of my name in a different city, that has not happened. So these processes are a little clumsy, more technical, rather than it could be much simpler. I think a lot of people in India would say, at least, see, as a voter, what do I need? I need my name to be registered. If I want my name to be deleted, I want this should be done in a simpler manner, as simple as possible. But even this is not very simple in India, and people have a lot of difficulty about that. So, in that respect, I would say laws are not as simple as it should be.
Thank you, Prof. Sanjay. I guess before I call Tej and Randy, I wanted to connect the question with also if you could share how is your organization or what voter education programs do you have in your organization, which I think would help people to simplify these election laws and policies. Maybe you could try to answer our next question in that from that perspective or lens. I'll call Tej first and then Randy, if that's okay.
Uh, okay, thank you. But talking about legal things, actually, we have also different laws, election-related laws. So, Election Commission Nepal is trying to make it a single law, so integrated, comprehensive, integrated election laws. So, draft bill is already there, so it is under process. And while talking about the voter education that we are doing, our organization is doing, actually we are focusing voter education, civic education at three levels. So the first level is free election voter education. Secondly, it is during election voter education, and thirdly, it is post-election voter awareness. So, to brief about the first one, the free election voter education, we are focusing our activities in awareness campaign, especially focusing to the voter registration, door-to-door campaign for the information sharing and sharing and dissemination on the election date, voting procedure, ballot paper, how to use ballot paper kind of thing. We are focusing in that area. And I later on I'll how we do I'll explain later. And the second one, during the election, we normally educate the people how to vote correctly, to minimize the invalid votes, and also we inform people to about the polling stations, where is the polling station, and the voting hours, voting times, and also the required document while going for the votings. So certain document, identity card kind of things should be present while going for the voting. So that kind of required document we inform people. And thirdly, post-election voter awareness, while we do this during that time, normally we focus to the accountability of the elected representative, and civic engagement, holding elected representative accountable, and also the engagement of people's in governance process, kind of things we focus in that area. And the means of voter education, normally we focus two kind of uh, way. So the first is we have some traditional way of voter education. The traditional ones are basically we folk media. We use folk media. For example, we have very popular folk songs and stories. Through that way, we inform people, and also we use street drama, posters, pamphlets, and wall painting. Also, sometimes it is useful, and we are using. And community, especially for the community people, it is community radio is also very much useful. So we broadcast PSAs, kind of things, through the community radio stations. And also miking is also another way to educate the people. Door to door campaign is also there. And also we used to engage traditional leaders and community leaders. And also we have some issue based organization. We collaborate with issue based organization. If sometimes we collaborate with federation of person with disability people. Sometimes we used to collaborate with Dalit organizations. Sometimes some other organizations based, we collaborate with issue based organizations as well, so that it can be go to the target people, because those based organizations are representing to their people. These are the traditional one. Beside, we use also modern means of voter education. So we use videos. We use some booklets. Sometimes with regards to legal related things, so we use published booklets and disseminate to the people. And so the social media is very much useful for the border education, especially Facebook and TikTok. This is modern one. And we sometimes we use mock voting as well. Mock voting, that is very much effective to educate the people. These are the things, certain things that we are using. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Tej. We're actually down to our last few minutes and question, and so before we also let go of Prof. Sanjay, I think he has to leave in a few minutes. I wanted to ask Prof. Sanjay also because, of course, we have different types of voters with varying levels of awareness, and I know that your organization has done extensive work and research on voter. How do you think should we um tailor our voter education programs so that we can cater to the different needs of different types of voters? Base, I guess you could share about your research or your study.
It depends. What do you teach the voter about? Do you want to teach the voter about election laws? It is a very challenging task and it is not useful at all. Why do we want to teach voter vote election laws? But if you want to actually educate the voters about the importance of participation in election, I think this is an important thing to do. That why it is important, even if you have anxieties, even if you don't like many aspect of election, still you need to participate. You can't sit out. And if you want to bring about any change, you need to participate. So I think one, there could be various aspect of voter education, that what do we need to educate voter. I think the big point should be, we need to educate voters about importance of elections, why elections are important in a democracy, and why you should strive, you should contribute to keep the flag of elections holding, in a sense, flying. For that, The key is participation, that you must participate. Now, how do we do that? We teach students in a classroom setting. Can we do it in a classroom setting? No, we can't do that in a classroom setting. Voters are in a very large number. Uh, so how do we do that? Voters are spread across the country, large. I think many sources are being used in India. Lot of advertisements on the radio, various channels. So at the time of elections and maybe months before elections, um, if you switch on to any channel, FM 1, 2, etc., many channels, you will get messages. After you listen to 3 or 4 songs, you get one message. So mass media could be an important medium for voter education. And mass media would include, I know mass media, some mass media are expensive. You can't use television all the time, because at least in India, television advertisements are very expensive. So we could think of, a very less expensive pamphlets, like the posters, not the big ones, the small ones, what we call in India pamphlets. And you can give it to the 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 vendors, the newspaper vendors, because in India, when you get newspaper, it is like buy one get one free. So you get one newspaper and you get 10 pamphlets free. So one pamphlet will be about, maybe about somebody has opened a new coaching institute to teach the students. Another pamphlet is about a travel agency. Another pamphlet is about somebody has opened a restaurant. So that pamphlet, so a lot of pamphlets there. You could, and it's a very less expensive way of at least sending out messages to the people, or large number of people. It goes to many houses. That's another. uh, in India, some people, while it is banned at the time of election, they also use public address system. So you have auto rickshaw, you have a tuk tuk in Thailand's word tuk tuk, or in Cambodia we call it tuk tuk. Put one loudspeaker with a recorded message, and he keeps moving 8 hours from one place to another, is slowly and gradually moving around from one place to another, saying whatever is the message. So you have a recorded message through that. And these days IVR is also being used. As soon as you dial somebody, you and it is on the IVR. So for 1 minute or 30 seconds there is a message. So before you speak to someone, that message will automatically be there. I think these are the means. You can engage school students, you can engage college students for some awareness campaign, street play, many ways, less expensive ways of voter education. But I think it should be large, in order, because we also have to anticipate whether voters are taking interest in these campaigns or not. They will take interest in campaign if you connect it with their activity, which is their voting. If you connect it with voter, election laws, they will not be interested. So just to give you an example, if a brand new car has come up in the market, and they want to educate the people, they want to demonstrate the car. So they go with the car in your locality, they park the car, and as a consumer, I'm just looking at, okay, 5 people can sit in, good, the seats are good. But somebody from the company, if he starts explaining the technicalities of that car, the engine, etc., I won't be interested. I would go, oh, no, I'm not, the basics. So that is what, because I would be sitting in the car, I would be driving, etc., etc. I would be interested in the mileage, etc., etc., the price. I think that's the way you can lead a voter education program in your own country and in different places. I
Thank
will try
you.
to be. It's 1:15. I have another engagement, so I'm sorry about that. But since the program was not finalized with due consultation, I had various other engagements today. I have to skip the meeting now. Sorry about
Thank
that.
you. Yeah,
Sorry,
it's a
John.
thank you for taking the time to join us for a few minutes. Thank you for your time, sir. Okay, now we have Randy back in the studio. Randy, we're down to our last question before we go to our closing. We wanted to ask you, you mentioned a lot about money politics as a problem in Indonesia. We were curious about how JPPR also conducts its voter education in Indonesia, not only to, inform voters how to vote, but also how can they engage with issues like this in elections, especially money politics, which is a persistent issue in Indonesia.
Uh, Thank you, Lente, Alexa. And I'm sorry because I have uh, phone issues last time, and I
It's
uh,
okay, sir.
yeah. Thank you. Actually, uh, the voter education program that JPPR held and conducted by JPPR in discussion seminars, FGDs, and uh, the, we also use social media such as Instagram, Facebook, and etc. And also podcasts. In case of give voters perspectives about democracy and how to avoid uh, fraud in elections, such as money politics. Money politics in terms of vote buying, because we also know about money politics in many other forms, such as clientelism and patronage, and also what we call how to buy uh, political parties, he can be a candidate, or he or she can be candidate in elections. In, for example, in the last regional head elections. But the vote buying is very dangerous to our democracy. Uh, Not only KPU or General Election Committees and Bawaslu have voters permanent list, the candidate also have the voters permanent list. The candidate in legislative or in the regional election, they have voter permanent list to execute vote buying at the day of the election. And this is very harmful for our democracy. And we have to uh, say to the society, to the people, or to the voters, to reject it totally, the money politics issue, because uh, we have such as Kompas survey, uh, one of the well-known newspaper in Indonesia. In Kompas survey in 2023, 50%, 48 to 50% people say that money politics is no problem. And at the 2024 survey conducted by Compass, people have no shame to say that money politics is legal. So people, voters, uh, think that money politics is no problem to democracy. This is what Compass say. So JPPR and other civil society in Indonesia have to combat with these situations to change the paradigma, or the way of people think about democracy. But actually, there are another issues, such as why people uh, think that money politics is legal, because of the behavior of the political elite and the political party itself. There is a problem. After the election, when they have a seat and have the power, whether it's become the legislative, become the senator, or become governor, or regent and major, there is a problem. Maybe after the elections, the the engagement between political party and the society lose control. That's the problem. So maybe people say, why not we receive money from the candidate or for political party or for the team, the campaign team, because after the election day there's no engagement, disengagement. uh, I think the democracy not only in one's perspective, we have also to teach about the 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 the, the function of political party, and then the candidate after the election they have to what they call, they have to implement it. They have to implement whatever they say in the election. That's the problem. So I think uh, uh, in 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 many cases we have to educate people, not only in case of voter educations, but turning to the civic education, not only voters, because voters on people think that voters on only on the election, but we have to turn our perspective and our working as the civil society in election, turn from voters education to civic education, to teach people, the society, to uh, uh, to not only at the election day we engage, but we have to engage after the 5 years, the long period when they lead, become a leader, when the people become a leader in election, in legislative or in the head of elections. I think that's the our perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. We're down to our last 10 minutes for the podcast. But I think it was a good no, way to end at least the question and answer segment, John, because Randy was able to tie back voter education and civic education, which is the topic for this episode. So we only have Tej and Rembo to participate in a special closing segment that John and Anfrel always prepares for its podcast. John, please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Alexa. No, I know I've been monitoring the live stream and my feed is not working, but my audio is working. I'm not even sure now. I'm looking at the YouTube feed, live feed, and it's working supposedly.
It is. It is. Don't worry. It is. Your video is working.
Yes. So, thank you, Alexa. No, you've handled it really, really well. It's a good thing that we planned it, that you asked the questions first. No, but as Alexa has said, we now go to the closing segment of our show. This is something that we usually do uh, in our episodes, no, similar to, but for this particular closing segment, similar to the building blocks that we created for a potential curriculum on understanding parliamentary work for monitoring in episode 5 of the Election Observer. For this time, as I usually do, I have some uh, props, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to use it. We are creating a voter and civic education awareness ladder. No, so we ask our remaining guests for today, no, what 3 steps of areas of knowledge about elections should the electorate, should voters, maybe the electorate in general, not just the voters themselves, know in order for them to be better informed during elections. So who would like to start?
Can I?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Three.
okay, I understand. Yeah, talking about this building blocks about the voter education, civic education. So I think you said 3 steps for building blocks, but I want to add one more step. So later on I'll add that one. For the first step, I think we should have basic understanding on the democracy, that kind of information we have to disseminate to the inform to the people, and civil rights and their responsibilities as well. We have to inform people, and the election related general information about the election, inclusivity and election. because it is very much important. There are different diverse nature of people in the society. We have to address that issue. Voter registration and voter list also the first step, and also broadcasting thing also goes to the first step, and second step I guess some more advanced. It should be inclusive election and change. What kind of change can be brought through the inclusive election and inclusive representation? We have to focus that area, and also importance of voter registration, importance of voting, constitutional and legal arrangement also. That is also a second step that could be very much useful, and importance of election. And talking about the third step, election and role of civil society organization, it is
Okay.
very much important. Because many civil society organizations are there everywhere. So if we can mobilize them, then that would be very much good. And the election for democracy, election cycle kind of things we can include in the third step. And lastly, my fourth step, we have to include fourth step as well. For the fourth step, I recommend resource book for voter, resource book on voter and civic education, uh, especially targeting to the intermediary organization, because we have to develop their capacity. We have to equip them. If they have that resource book, then it will be useful for them. And that next one could be the election education resource book for school teachers. School teachers, we can mobilize school teachers, and through school teachers, student through we can reach to the people, yeah, mass people. So that could be very much useful. So these are the simple idea from my side. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, no, for the four-step ladder of knowledge about elections.
Yeah.
That's a bit extra to add one more, but we just asked three. But thank you for four
Yeah.
steps,
Yeah.
Tej. How about
Yeah.
you, Randy? Randy, I'm sorry. I think you are muted. We can unmute you from our. No, we cannot. Oh, there. Three steps.
Pardon me.
Uh, we ask what three steps of areas of knowledge about elections should the electorate know in order for them to be better informed during elections?
Uh, Three steps. Yeah.
Yes.
I think first three steps from you know better informed voters.
Yes.
I think the election bodies such as KPU and Bawaslu, of course, Indonesia, in case Indonesia, have to uh, socialize all the regulations, the rules related to the elections,
Mm-hmm.
and also uh, second, the civil society uh, must engage with the election bodies and also engage with the communities and engage with political party, because we looked at uh, there are these engagement problems
Mm-hmm.
to civil society, to political parties, uh, 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 or election bodies. Uh, in this case, if there is communication, good communication with the three elements: the communities, the society, the political parties, and then the election bodies. I think the civil society like us, the prepare and unfriend. etc., uh, would make the voters understand about elections and democracy.
Mhm.
And then the last one is using the social media, because we are in digital area. The the artificial intelligence issue is very disruptive, and I think the technology, the use of social media and technology is a must for us to make voter aware and understand about elections
Mhm.
and democracy itself. I
Mhm.
think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Randy. No, so I will just show my handwriting is really bad, but I will show the product of our the three-step ladder from Randy and from Tej here. No, I like props. I like doing props for this part of the show. But my handwriting is really bad. But thank you again, Tej and Randy, for joining us today. That has been very an informative afternoon for us. And of course, uh, thank you for joining us. That concludes the end. That concludes the episode for today. We would have to remove you from the stream to formally close the episode. But thank you again, Randy and Tej.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy and
Thank
Ted,
you,
Yeah,
John.
happy,
Thank
joining
you,
us
happy
this
to
afternoon.
happy
Alexa.
to happy to be a
Nice to
part
meet
of
you,
this
Prof. Yeah.
Okay.
conversation. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. And that has been the election observer episode on civic and voter education. Uh, civic and voter education. No? Thank you, Alexa, for joining. No? Before I let you read the next part of our script, can you invite them to also like and follow Lentes pages?
Oh wow. Thank you for the platform. I thank you again for always having Lente in your podcast, John. And for always inviting us in this. I am again from the Legal Network for Truthful Elections, based in the Philippines. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok also, or you may reach us as in our emails, which you can also find in our platform. So we also have our podcast online show. We actually have a radio show, and an online show every Friday, every first and last Friday of the month at 8 o'clock a.m. and at 7 o'clock p.m. So actually we have on Friday. So if our audience would also want again to know more about elections, especially elections in the Philippines, which is 47 days away from now,
Mhm.
we invite you to also tune in our podcast.
That's good. Can you also invite them to follow us on?
Of course, sorry. That's the next part of our script. I also invite our audience to always to follow Anfrel's program and activities. You may find Anfrel in Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and they're also on TikTok. And of course, tune in to the Election Observer podcast, which airs every Wednesday, weekly
Yes.
at every Wednesday, at 2 o'clock p.m., 3 o'clock p.m. Bangkok time. So please subscribe to their please follow and subscribe to their YouTube, and you're also on WhatsApp. So subscribe to your WhatsApp channel.
Yes. Again, I would like to thank you, Alexa. No, you did really well. You handled it really well, even if my part of it was very problematic.
I was
So
worried because you were frozen for like 45 minutes,
I know
30 to 45 minutes.
you've been chatting on the background, and I'm stressed out of a bit from the technical issues, but we were able to go through it again. Thank you. Thank you also to the people who have been watching us. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, John Antiquera.
I'm Alexa from Lente, and good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in.